Point at me when I should talk.
What's next? Keep listening to find out, because the news never stops. And neither do we.
Well, something has been going on in our community for a month or so now, and you may or may not be aware of it, but we thought it might be a good idea to spotlight it and give you some more information about it, because it's pretty darn interesting and something that we believe is very, very important. A unity challenge to dismantling racism, a movement, not a moment in time. This is a movement, and really should be something that everybody should know about. So we have three guests with us this morning for our spotlight. And we have Flo Ginanni, who is with United Way of Greater Stark County, Project Blueprint Director. We also have Isaac Baez, StarkMHAR Engagement and Inclusion Coordinator, and Sarah Schmidt, Kent State University at Stark Office of Global Initiatives. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Doing well.
All right, so let's start off. Let's start with you, Flo. First of all, talk about your part in all of this and how this whole thing got started.
Okay, well, this got started back the end of May, beginning of June, after the unfortunate incidents of the Ahmaud Arbery murder and the George Floyd murder. United Way and YWCA of Canton had a conversation just talking about what was going on in our community, in our world, in our nation, and what we could do about it. We each had come up with our own statements for our organizations, taking a stand against racism, but we just felt like there was more to do, like we wanted to do more. United Way has as part of its mission to identify solutions to critical social issues. And then also YWCA has part of its mission to eliminate racism. So obviously this was a topic that was very near and dear to our hearts and fit with our mission. So each of our organizations, the national organizations, so United Way Worldwide, and then also for YWCA, I believe it was YWCA out of Dayton, they had each done a equity challenge that various ones of us within each organization had participated in those equity challenges. So we started talking about how could we bring that to Stark County? And it just like really took off from there. As we had that conversation, we talked about who else should be brought to the table, because we knew it needed to be a collaboration across the community, not just United Way and YWCA. So from there, we invited others to the table, and that is how we ended up forming this Dismantling Racism Coalition. Some of the other members, because it's not just the three of us that are represented here, there's other members. So it's the Alliance City Health Department, Coming Together Stark County, Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health, Stark Canton City Public Health, Greater Stark County Urban League, Kent State University at Stark, Massillon Health Department, the Stark County Collaborative on Race Relations, Stark County Educational Service Center, Stark Education Partnership, Stark Health, Stark Mental Health and Recovery, Addiction Recovery Services, State Support Team 9, United Way, and then of course the YWCA. Well, when we got together, obviously our first order of business was to create this Unity Challenge. There were various versions of the Unity Challenge out there throughout the country, but we wanted to localize it, to make it specific to Stark County. So each of the participants, each of the members on the coalition, we chose a day that we would create the content for. And we tried to make it to where it was the issue experts that were creating the content. So I do need to say that this was not the concept of the challenge was created by Dr. Eddie Moore and Debbie Irving back in 2014. And it's been modified many times to fit individual needs. And for us, we modified ours to fit Stark County with the focus specifically on racism. The purpose of the challenge is we wanted to disrupt the systematic racism that we saw in our community. And we wanted to do that through education, awareness, and having courageous conversations. We believe, I believe it fits very well to paraphrase a Maya Angelou quote. It says, when you know better, you do better. So this is an opportunity for us to learn how to do better.
Now, when this all started, it was kind of a one day, not one day, but you had a certain amount of a time period that it was set for, but it went way beyond that, didn't it?
Well, yes. Of course, we just came together as a coalition. I want to say by the beginning of June, and we wanted to launch this the challenge to the community as soon as possible. So we put this together fairly quickly, with us launching it back August 10th. So it was to be 15 days, 5 days a week for 3 straight weeks, weekends off. But the response has been so great that it is really continuing on to where people can sign on now and start their 15 days now. So it was the initial 15 days, but it's an ongoing 15 days, so to speak.
That's great. That's great. And that makes you feel good that it's really connecting with people. So that's awesome. I want to bring in Isaac and Sarah. We'll start with you, Sarah. Maybe you can explain how Kent State University at Stark got involved and what your whole role was.
Yes, so Kent State University at Stark was involved in developing some of the content for specific days. So all of the coalition members sort of divvied up the 15 days to develop the content, to localize the data, and to make it relevant for our communities. And so that's how Kent State University at Stark joined in that capacity. The really beautiful thing that's happened since this group formed, though, is that we are all approaching this as exactly what you said, as a movement and not a moment. And so for each of the coalition members and even for each of the endorsing organizations, we've all taken steps to really further the mission of the challenge at our own organizations. And even beyond that, the coalition itself is committed to continuing this conversation in the community, and so we will continue to bring these difficult conversations, but important and vital conversations to the community in different capacities. And so it's exactly what you said. It's a movement, and so the process will continue.
How hard was it to come up with the content? I mean, there's a lot that could be considered.
Yeah, there is a lot. And so you'll notice for those of you who have done the challenge or that do the challenge, there's the designated activities for each day. But you're right. There's so much out there, and it's such a deep learning process that is possible, that we have a going deeper section in each day because of that reason exactly. So the challenge is really individualized. Everyone has their different entry point to this conversation. And so that's one of the beauties of this challenge. You can go as deep as you want to, and even past the designated activities for each day, there are additional resources. And so if there's a particular day that you really feel intrigued by, you can really dig in deep and seek out those additional resources, which we have available.
All right, let's bring in Isaac Baez with StarkMHAR. Isaac, talk about how this was important to your organization.
So this was huge to be able to participate in this for us. One of the main reason is that StarkMHAR had received a system of care grant, which was meant to work with different organizations, different systems, from court, the DD, the Stark County DD Board, Job and Family Services, educational, schools, just to be able to work together. And so my role at StarkMHAR is the engagement inclusion. So I pretty much do diversity and inclusivity. We offer free trainings in the county. We offer extra trainings for different communities. So we have like our population focused training series that we talk about different communities. We just did one recently about unconscious bias, about veterans, deaf and hard of hearing community. And so being able to participate in something like this, where we're working together with different organizations, is the intent that we had behind the grant. So it was like perfect timing with everything that was going on and what ways can we work together. So it was really beautiful the way how, all these different organizations decided to come together to talk about this one topic that it's so hard to have that discussion. And so trying to figure out an easy way to give people an opportunity to do this at their own home or at work at their own pace, and being able to kind of dive through these details, because there is a lot of thought process. When we talk about diversity training, as much as we want to keep everything professional, there are still personal touches that are going to hit home when you have these discussions about how we serve other community members, what's really going on in our community, and why are we not doing a lot better to better serve the communities that are being affected or hurt or not being heard at all. And so this was a great chance just to be able to kind of dive in both avenues, professional and personal, because you have that opportunity. Other agencies such as ours participated in it completely. So even though I was also part of the coalition and helping out for like certain days, we also had our agencies do and participated. And so we even brought days for conversations, days where we can talk about what you learned. But one thing that I would like for everyone to remember, to know about, is that we also even included a segment called Table Talk. And that part was for you to be able to know how to talk to your children or kids or even family members, if you wanted to use that information about these topics. A lot of times we want to say, it doesn't happen to our children, our kids don't need to learn about this yet. But they really do. And if you observe them really well, you start noticing the patterns and things that they follow through. So we wanted to make sure that people had resources in all angles for their personal growth, for their professional growth, but as well as how to bring it into the home in an easy way to understand, in a way to have those conversations, because it is hard to talk. If it is hard for us as an individual to learn about it and really dive deep into it, imagine how hard it is for a parent to have that conversation with their child about what's really going on. Social media is live. We have so many ways to get news and find out what's going on in the world, and things are coming in so fast, but then we don't know how to talk to our own children about these topics and try to navigate the waters on this. And so part of that reason why we wanted to make sure is that people have those tools and resources to be able to bring those conversations.
Yeah, and it's a 24/7 battle. There's no doubt about that. And it is something that's not superficial and can be uncomfortable. There's no doubt about that as well. We're going to take a quick commercial break here. And when we come back, we'll talk about the process and how each and every one of you felt about the process. Some things maybe that you learned or hope to do better, all of those kinds of things. We are talking about United Way of Greater Stark County, dismantling racism, and hope that you'll stay tuned.
WHBC Sports, the Starship Radio Game of the Week.
Oh. We are back in 30 seconds.
I heard somebody out in the hallway. I was like,
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products. We never earn commission for trades.
We are back in 30 seconds.
that's how delayed it is? Wow. So it's not.
FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management. Investments and securities advisors.
All right, more than 2,000 community members took part of the Unity Challenge in August and 50 organizations endorsing it. This is the Unity Challenge to Dismantle Racism, and that's our topic on Spotlight this morning. And we have with us from the United Way of Greater Stark County Project Blueprint Director, Flo Ginanni. We also have from StarkMHAR, the Engagement and Inclusion Coordinator, Isaac Baez, and also from Kent State University at Stark Office of Global Initiatives, Sarah Schmidt. And Flo, I'll come back to you. We only have a few minutes before we have to go to the news here for a break again. But, you know, were you surprised at the number of people or organizations who said, yeah, we're in for this?
Actually, I really was. When we were putting this together, in the back of my mind the whole time was, wow, I really hope people will participate in this. I really hope people will see the value in this. And almost immediately, I want to say within the first week, we had about 900 participants just within the first 5 days. So I was really pleased and amazed with the response from the community.
What kinds of things were they telling you about why they wanted to participate?
One of the primary comments that I heard was that people just wanted the opportunity to share and to talk about this topic. It's a difficult topic to talk about. It's a loaded topic. It brings up emotions. It brings up just challenges for people individually, within families, within their workplace. So this was a safe way for people to have those conversations and to learn and to grow. When we did the weekly Zoom calls, we made that a safe place. So people just really appreciated to have the platform to be able to talk about these issues with others, not just within their families or not just within their close friends, but just across spectrums and across relationships.
All right, we do have to take another break. We're going to get to our news here at the bottom of the hour. And then when we come back, we want to kind of get into more of the content. And as I said earlier, more of maybe the feelings and emotions that everybody was experiencing and are still experiencing throughout the whole project. The Dismantling Racism Coalition of Stark County assembling the Unity Challenge. And I think you'll be amazed at what has been accomplished right here in our very own community. And we will come back with Spotlight, United Way of Greater Stark County, Dismantling Racism.
strong.me. 330-563-4396. 330-563-4396. OsteoStrong.me.
What's next? Keep listening to find out. Because the news never stops.
Get the facts.
And neither do we.
WHPC and WHPC.com.
And we're talking this morning on Spotlight about the Unity Challenge to Dismantling Racism. And boy, this is something that got started small, grew very big, and now is continuing on. And my guest this morning from United Way of Greater Stark County, Project Blueprint Director Flo Ginanni. We also have from StarkMHAR Engagement and Inclusion Coordinator Isaac Baez, and also from Kent State University at Stark Office of Global Initiatives, Sarah Schmidt. And, Flo, I'll ask you real quick for folks who are tuning in and maybe they're thinking, okay, so this is ongoing. I'd like to take part in this. How do they go about doing that?
So you can still take part by logging on or going to the page Dismantling Racism StarkCounty.org/Unity Challenge. You can go on there and sign up to participate. And once you sign up and register, you will start receiving emails the following day with the content. You can also go on that site to be an endorser and to sign the anti-racism pledge.
Okay, and so once somebody signs up and they're taking part in the challenge, they want to do this. How does it work? I mean, what kind of things will happen then?
Okay, so you will get one day at a time emailed to you. On that email will be a general overview on that day's topic. So let's say the topic is health, how racism affects health. So there will be a general overview introducing that topic and why that topic is important as it relates to racism. And then from there are varying steps that you can take. The steps range from probably about 3 to about 5 or 6, depending on the day and depending on the topic. And the steps are progressive. So you can choose to just do step 1 and end there, or you can do all of the steps that are for that particular day, or you can do it in bits and pieces. The beauty of the way the challenge is designed is you once you sign up and register, you have the information at your disposal when you want to use it. So if you only want to do step 1 today and you don't have time to finish the rest, you can finish the rest tomorrow or next week. Or also, because some of the information evokes emotions, you might not be able to continue on to the next steps. You might just need a break to digest what you just went through or what you just experienced. So you might need to come back to it. You can put it down and come back to it.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the things that had to be hardest for those who participated. And maybe we can bring Isaac in here too, and also Sarah. I mean, this is when you look at something like racism or privilege, all of those kinds of things, that makes people uncomfortable. Even saying those things out loud can make people uncomfortable. So giving them this kind of content to consider, Sarah, it must have, you mentioned earlier, deciding on which different types of topics were going to be important, but, do you have any feelings for yourself on how all of these things might make people feel?
It is a sensitive and difficult conversation to have, whether that's an actual dialogue with another person or just our own, inner dialogue with ourselves as we go through this learning process. It's always really striking to gain a greater understanding of how deeply entrenched systemic racism is. And so as you start to unpeel all of that knowledge, it is a process that you have to go through. It's emotional and it incites a lot of different feelings. But one of the things that I appreciate about the challenge is that it doesn't just stop there. The days are progressive. They build on each other in terms of content to really showcase how interconnected systemic racism is. But then that's not where it leaves you. It leaves you with tools and an entire toolkit, really, of how to go about addressing this reality. And so it ends on that note. And so the goal is really to, first of all, deepen the knowledge on what the issues actually are and how interconnected each of these different areas is in terms of systemic racism, but then also to send people off with a toolkit of how to disrupt that machine of racism. And so it ends on that hopeful note.
And Isaac, do you think that it's an important part of it that people just took the first step to even sign up to participate?
That is definitely true. And so if you notice, and if you go look through the 15 days, because if you go on the website that Flo just mentioned, and you can actually see the titles of each day and what are little summaries about them. And just day one, just understanding your own race and where your background and how you identify is a challenge on its own. I mean, even for the Latino community, it's very interesting because our ethnicity, comes from the Hispanic Latino side, but when it comes to the race, we are a mix of white, Black, the Native part of, for some groups. And so there's a lot of mix of identification, even for myself personally, as I navigated the waters of just looking through this, it's just very interesting to not forget all the parts and pieces that have created, myself. And so even for other individuals to know their background, understand their true identity, where they come from, you have to start there before you can start looking at the word racism, before you can start understanding the division that it has caused, the separation that it has that's done damage. And so you really do have to try to dive into your own world first, and then look out, and then start working your way through each day as you process, racism.
Yeah. Do you think it's important that people have the opportunity to do this from the safety of their own home, or, the comfort of being by themselves? Because, if they were invited into maybe a group setting or something like that, they may not be as open to doing it.
Yeah, and so that's one of the benefits about this challenge, is that we made sure to give everybody every different type of outlet. We offered Facebook Live, we offered Zoom calls on Fridays. Agencies were offering time to talk about it. We told people to email us if they just needed to have a conversation. We had people reach out to us that weren't happy with it. And we even had one person who wanted to talk a little bit more about what they read, and we were able to dive in a little bit deeper. And not to say everything's just changed and perfect, but it was a moment where we were able to actually have just a conversation, not feel that aggressiveness, but to come to an understanding of why this information was brought forward. And those were the beautiful moments of it, being able to see how people were actually, confronted with this, but in their own time and personal space, without feeling overwhelmed or attacked, or just overpowering and saying well, you're in this group session, you should change your thoughts. It's no, we really wanted you to read this to understand it in a different way, because it is an issue. And so you need your time and space to understand it. Everybody learns differently. And so the importance was to make sure that people had an opportunity to learn the way they felt best for them in their own personal time and space.
Yeah, I mean, and I think as we go through the process and we talk more, probably there's a million questions. I mean, and that was something that I was thinking about, is as you go through this challenge, there is the opportunity for you to ask questions and pursue things further, right?
Yes, and I will pass that on to Sarah, because Sarah was one of our superstars on helping out for this, and just having the conversation and just being a face for the coalition with Krista too as well. But they did a wonderful work, and I'm gonna just pass it on to her because I know she has some stories to share.
So we actually had daily Facebook Live sessions, myself and my dear friend and colleague Krista Allison. And that was a chance for us to take the content every day, to debrief between the two of us and just have an informal conversation. And those conversations went wherever the comments took us. It was live on Facebook. And so it was this opportunity for participants to log on, ask questions, comment on their own personal experiences, their lived experiences. And so it was this great dialogue between the two of us, but then also with everyone that was logging in. Those are out on Facebook. And so those are available to anyone who wants to, view those debrief calls. But then beyond that, for anyone that wants to engage with the Unity Challenge, it is out there. You can register. And this is really the purpose in the coalition. We are continuing the conversation in our communities. And so while there may not be live Facebook debriefs on a daily basis right now, there will be opportunities to engage in this conversation as a community in various settings. And so to, keep an eye out for those opportunities to further that dialogue will be an important next step.
And speaking of next steps, we'll take a break, but we will talk about the next step and what's available and where we go from here. And that'll be coming up here after we take a commercial break. Unity Challenge to Dismantling Racism, our spotlight today on 1480 WHBC.
WHBC.com.
And we have about 5 minutes left in our discussion this morning, our spotlight on this Wednesday. And United Way of Greater Stark County, we've been talking about the Unity Challenge to Dismantle Racism. I said at the onset, it is a movement, not a moment. And that's because it continues. And so I would like to talk to Flo Ginanni, who is with the United Way of Greater Stark County. Flo, explain to us now, you went through this during the month of August, and it is ongoing. But what is the next step? Where do we go from here?
Well, currently, various members of the coalition have been tapped for further interviews such as this. to speak to other organizations and agencies about the challenge or about ways that they can get involved or things that they can do, specific steps they can take to dismantle racism. So that is taking place right now. We are also working on putting together a progress report that will be put out to the community. Hopefully in the next few weeks that will go out just to let the community know the things that the results of the survey thus far, and give them some ideas of things to look for in the future. We have also decided that we will do Zoom calls once a month for the next 3 months. Those were such a hit during the actual first 15 days that the response was that people wanted those to continue. So we will have 3 different ones, one in October, one in November, and one in December. And though if you have already signed up to participate in the challenge, you will receive email information about those Zoom calls, when they are, and how to sign up. In addition, future endeavors for the coalition will be other learning opportunities. We are talking about doing challenges that may have a specific focus. As this one was very broad, we might choose a topic from the challenge and do a challenge just specifically on that. We have also created a condensed version of the Unity Challenge. We know this one was very broad and very in-depth, and for some people it was a little intimidating because they didn't feel like they could complete it. So we are going to make available a condensed version of the challenge, which has, I want to say, probably like the first 6 days, and which are the heart of racism, just getting down to the basics of it. But then it also includes the last 2 or 3 days, which gives the tools and the ways to take action against racism.
So if someone wants to get involved, let's give them some more information again about the website and how they can do that.
Okay, that website is dismantlingRacismStarkCounty.org/Unity Challenge.
And Isaac and Sarah, just real quick, because we only have about a minute or so left, but if you had to say, in one sentence, what this has meant to you guys, what would that be? Sarah, go ahead.
For me, the major takeaway is just the personal learning process that I was able to go through the Unity Challenge. And like we mentioned before, the next step of then having that conversation, whether that is with a trusted person who is on that same journey with you, or perhaps it's one of those difficult conversations that are inevitably going to come up. The tools are so very valuable, and the data and information and just the knowledge that I was able to walk away with, I feel better equipped to have those difficult conversations. And so I think that was the most meaningful part for me.
All right, Isaac, what about you?
So for me, honestly, the readiness of the community was amazing, and it's just it felt good to kind of see how the community responded about that, because this is work that I'm very passionate about, and trying to support the community and figure out ways to better support. There's so many barriers that are put up, but it was just amazing to be part of this and to see the readiness of how people were desiring to have these conversations. It was just like, well, wow, like we didn't realize how many people wanted to talk about it. We thought, sometimes we bring this barrier up and think, oh, it's all taboo, maybe we can't talk about it, people are going to get offended. But what we found out was the reverse. People were, they just wanted to learn. They really wanted to better understand before they made any decisions, before they figured out anything. They just wanted to learn to be able to navigate it in such a way that, they felt comfortable to do it. And so it was just awesome to see that readiness of just ready to learn.
Yeah, I think that's what I took away from reading all of this and hearing from you guys is we should be pretty darn proud of Stark County, no doubt about it. And I appreciate you guys coming on today, sharing with the community, and best of luck in the rest of the work because we know we need it. That's for sure. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.